too, man. Like sometimes I like when we're about to go in. It's like we've been having this rich conversation, right? And people are like, I wonder what they were talking about beforehand, right?
Yeah,
So it's
I
okay.
like squirrels.
Right. See, like right now, hold on. Before I get started, I could talk a little bit more. I don't know if Jared put like any comic book up.
Hello, everybody. I think Delvin just disappeared on us. So we will
Oops.
figure out. But I'm like, I guess I'm running the show now.
You had your chance. It's like, okay, this is my show now. It's the Matt Poisso come out. New Warrior show. All right, clink them bottles, man. Let's do this. New Warriors come out to play. There we go. I always forget this, so I'm going to read it now. Come out to play. Welcome to that show and stuff. I'm Delvin, the dark web, and if you're listening to this show via YouTube or whatever where you're listening, we love for you to hit the like and subscribe button. As you can see, that's not Jared. We have a repeat host tonight. His name is Matt Poisso. Welcome back to the show, Matt.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to be back. I am always looking forward to talk about some New Warriors.
And Matt said he had a question for me. He says, like, I got a question ready for you if you want. It's like, of course, absolutely. Fire away. I am ready for the questions.
So, as a longtime New Warriors fan, I actually have the actual comic, like I'm sure you probably do. And when I pulled this one out, I noticed something. It was like a little thicker in the middle. I don't know if you still have your cards in the middle of yours.
I do.
Oh, he does. And
Absolutely.
That's what kind of made me come up with my question. What is your favorite insert in comics or kind of gimmick from the 90s in comics?
Man, and you're talking about from the 90s, as we
fittingly
enough is getting farther and farther away.
Don't say that.
Look, we're having a conversation, Jared and I. It's like, do you know that like we met like, you know, like it's 30 years ago this year? I was like, what? Just it's like, yes, I know. So a good insert, like that's a good question. I always liked anytime that, like, I'm a fan of the house ad. So anytime that they found a new creative way to put in the house ads and to see the things that are coming up, I thought it was cool. And so they did it in this episode. This issue actually. Let me find it. Because they were advertising some books that, like, and it's always fun to see the books that took off and the books that didn't take off, especially like when you're reading it and you're doing something chronologically or chronologically works. I'm gonna find these issues. Here it is. It's coming up. No, I missed it. I'm gonna find it once we're flipping through the book. I know it. Like, oh, here it is. It's the fold out at the end.
Yeah, I saw that.
It talked about, there's a comic book called Black Wolf, and I'm like, Black what? I mean, certainly a cool enough name. Yeah, me neither. It says, what begins as the epic struggle between a father and his son may be the end of the civilization as we know it. Don't miss the first issue of the newest generation of Marvel superheroes in years by Glenn Hurtling, Angel Medina, and Bill Anderson. Black Wolf. Okay. So somebody bought it. Somebody had to. Maybe not a lot of people, but somebody bought it. And then, you know, there's
Martian Manhunter-ish a little bit.
I'm going to have to look it up because I don't even remember. Apparently it wasn't at least around enough in any of the books I collected, because like I don't remember it crossing over with Spider-Man or anything. See, Jason Lady, who I haven't introduced people yet, but I will. He's like, Black Wolf was a Thor spinoff. And if I really care, like, okay, yeah. You could have said anything. You could have been like, that's from the DC universe and it crossed over to Marvel. And I was like, oh, okay. I did not know. Yeah. And then, like, other than that, like books you heard of course, Avengers, Thor, some Spider-Man stuff, even though Jared would appreciate that the Spider-Man, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, is drawn by Tom Lyle. May he rest in peace. Tom Lyle had a very particular style within Spider-Man. So yeah, I always like those. The fold outs are just, you got that little preview about what's to come. So that's my answer. I know you had one though.
For me, I am a sucker for cards. Give me like the little insert cards from Wizard. When I felt that, I knew it was some kind of card, and I'm like, oh, what do we have here? This is so stupid. One of my prized possessions in my collection, and it is the most overprinted comic ever. I still have, and I'm sure like everyone out there and people who don't collect comics still have a bagged issue of X-Force #1.
I have one in the bag, I think.
But the reason I keep it bagged, I found it and I could, I'm like, oh, I'll grab that. I get home and I look at it. It has the Deadpool card in there, but it has like 3 Deadpool cards in there. I just went crazy putting cards in that one. So I'm like, okay, sure, why not?
I'm sure at some point they had somebody doing it manually, and they're just like, brains. It had to just be completely just zonked out from doing it.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. All right, before I go on, we got a lively bunch here in the audience tonight. Eric Porter warmed my heart with it from the start. Says, time and time again, I find myself listening to this great show. Keep up the amazing job. Thank you, Eric. That was kind of you. Jason Lady says, this makes me want to sing some Cyndi Lauper. Wait, that's Time After Time. Never mind. Bro, Counting Crows. Time and Time Again. There you go. It's an excellent song. I recommend that you go listening to it. I almost gave you a knife hand. It was pointed out. I didn't fully knife hand you. It was more friendly. So yeah, Counting Crows, Time and Time Again, off of the album August and Everything After. It is an incredible song. Hello to Heinz Cook. Hello to Auburn Elvis, who asked, wait, this is still happening during an Auburn game? Of course it is. Like, this don't stop, man. And I just looked at the score anyway, so I ain't got nothing to worry about. Auburn's killing it. The #1 team in basketball right now. Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it. Don't any of y'all watching forget that. Linkovich says, rock hands and then Warriors. Absolutely. I forgot Bot Boy Versus. My bad, my friend. Bot Boy Versus says hello. Let's see. And Jim Mills here as well. He says he always liked the well-placed die cut cover. It's always fun because like a cool book is coming out. And so, well, unless it was the 90s, then it could have just been, issue 373.
Yeah, we need something. Die cut.
Right. Die cut cover. Let's see. Eric Porter also said that Glenn Herdling is a good writer, though. No shade to the man. I don't know if I collected any books that he wrote or anything, just that I don't remember Black Wolf at all. So crazy. And Linkovich is one of the few who said he dug out his copy, so he had Warriors 47 too, and said, I forgot it had those cards. And Jason Lady says X-Force 1 came with cards and they weren't all the same. I got a Gideon card. Be jealous, everyone. I'm sure if you went and tried with the ponytail, the green ponytail, he was born that way. That was his mutant power, green ponytail. And okay, that's it for everybody that's in the chat now. If I see a new name, I'll read it out. But for now, let me keep it going. Come out to play as a chronicling of the 1990 series, The New Warriors. The first volume of The New Warriors ran 75 issues. We will cover all this first volume as I rediscover my love for this series, help others find theirs, and share our love and joy with the listening audience. Come grab your skateboards and bucket helmets because it's time to play. We're talking New Warriors issue 47. We already flashed the cover if you haven't. I heard Matt pick it up. He's flashing it again now. Cover credits go to Derek Robertson and Larry Malstead. And if you want to, Matt, feel free to. You know what? I'll describe the cover. I won't leave you with that. All right. So here's the cover here, and I'm showing it, and you've got like the center of it is Firestar doing her fire burst thing. You know, her arms are out there. She's almost doing like, you know, a Scott Stapp Creed thing, except there's like fire coming out from everywhere. On one side of the cover, you got the male Sphinx. On the other side of the cover, you got the lady Sphinx. And on the bottom of it, you got all the warriors going out in all sorts of places. You got Night Thrasher at the bottom leaping at you. And on his right side, you got Speedball and Silhouette. And on his left side, you have Rage, Nova, and Justice. So what do you think about the cover, Matt?
So what I will say is I've been reading along with you guys. It's been a while since I've read this issue. I've read it maybe once in my entire life. So I went to my cabinet. I dug it out. I'm like, okay, there's 46. I pulled out 40 and I'm like, oh, I like this cover. I like this a lot. And it took me a second because all the previous ones have had the little trading card border around it. And I didn't think this was good initially, but they still snuck it in there. And I love Firestar being there in the center, blasting out, and the rest of the team just shooting forward. It, to me, is a great cover that pulls you right in.
I have to admit that I like it. I have to admit, like, it's a bad thing. Like, this is Derek, and like Derek at this point is has well established in the Warriors. I like his art. I like his style because it's always very expressive. And you know, like this cover, like I looked at it, and this cover made me smile. Like, why did this cover make me smile?
Hey.
Because somebody I know who happens to be guest hosting with me happened to send me this ash can of New Warriors, and I laughed. It made me smile.
I didn't even realize that. That's crazy.
This is it's kismet, isn't it? Like, this is just like in the best way possible. Like, when I saw that it was taken from Warriors 47, it just made me smile. Like, it was. Like, first of all, Matt, like, I wanted to do it live on the air. Thank you so much. This was awesome for you to even think about me and give it to me. I'm truly honored. I'm going to read the note because, you know, it's good. It's good to embarrass your friends with like the kindness that they do. Matt wrote to me, Delvin, just wanted to say I appreciate all the excellent comic talk you helped put out there. I was shocked in the best way to find out there were more New Warriors fans out there. Man, well, first of all, Matt, thank you, dude. That was an awesome gift. Thank you so much. And yeah, like, I mean, as you can see over, you know, in the comments, you got people sitting there too, like, who like the Warriors, and it's one of those unintentional awesome things that comes with taking some, like, doing a podcast for something from the 90s. And I laugh because you hear like a lot of people, they'll like throw a comment out or tweet out, or I think, what do they call it on Skeet now on Blue Sky? Yeah. And it's like, or something on Threads, and they'll say something like, oh yeah, and middle-aged men, and they don't need the podcast. And it's like, I don't know, maybe they do, maybe they don't. But as a middle-aged man, I have gotten a lot of joy out of coming up, you know, it was like, hey, I want to talk about this comic book I liked when I was a kid or I was a teenager. And then you talk about it, and then people reach out and they're like, hey, I like this comic book too, and like, I'm going to follow along with you. And then sometimes those people become your friends, or at a minimum, it's somebody you see their name and it's cool. And or we met people at comic book conventions, and then like you give them a hug because, I mean, it's like they're your buddy now. You've just made a friend because you found out that you had something in common that you thought that people forgot long ago. So
yeah, I 100% agree with you there, man. It's like, yeah, it's just another thing, but it brings people together. Building those communities is what's super important. So,
man, and building people together, is much better than tearing people apart. Am I right?
For sure.
Comments about the cover, and if you want to, guys, and girls, you can go to your ratings and drop some ratings in the comments if you like. Jason Lady says the cover is a good action shot of the team. I like Firestar doing the starburst thing. Nice symmetry. I like the Sphinx half faces. Cooler than full faces. 7. What? 7. You know what, Jason? We're gonna have to talk, you and I.
Are we on a scale of 0 to 7 now? Is that what we're doing?
Obviously, everyone's opinion is welcome. Scott O'Neill, welcome to the show. Says was listening on the phone on the drive home to catch up. Matt, stop judging things from the 90s for being a little thicker in the middle. It happens. Absolutely. But like if you hit your full on midlife crisis, just start going to the gym, and then you have money to buy performance enhancing. You know what? I'm just going to keep going. Scott, you don't have to do performance enhancing. Scott continues, read the promo bits. I love the bullpen bits, the Chibi Heroes, and the Marvel temperature thing, the hot and cool rankings. I remember that. That thing was basically a playground for editorial to make snarky jokes, and they did.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that. I think they kept it mostly above the belt. And Linkovich adds, I've grown to like the cover more, especially since it's the cover of the second omnibus. I'd give it an 8. So clearly, someone saw this cover and thought, this cover is a great representation of what the New Warriors is, right? I mean, that seems fair.
Yeah.
So let's rate it then on a scale of 1 to 10 nightsticks. We've already gotten a couple. Jason gave it a 7, and Linkovich gave it an 8. More people feel free to rate. But Matt, what would you rate the cover for New Warriors 47?
So I know on the show, a lot of times you guys talk about how would you have this as a poster on the wall? I would 100% have this as a poster on the wall. I would give this a 10 any day of the week.
Fantastic. And like again, just like Jason Lady Wynn explained his comment and said, I would have ranked it higher, but it's a little generic, hard to tell what the story is about from that cover. And that's okay, to have that opinion. Also, that was not me. That was like a draft that came in from the window, which I don't have open. Scott O'Neill gave it a 10 out of 10, says it's a 10 out of 10 cover for him, and says this storyline led to, in his opinion, 3 of the top 5 portrayals of the full team. The other 2 being the issue 50 cover, which I don't remember off the top of my head, and a full page splash in issue 50. I'm at a 9 myself. It is very, very, very good. Like, I mean, each character has, is portrayed in his or her own style. And like, especially you look at all the changes that the team has undergone, right? And this is one of the first covers that maybe all of them have been there with all their styles. And think about that. Over the course of the last 2 years, over the course of the last 2 years or so, every single New Warrior has undergone a costume change, right? Like Thrash did. Silhouette made some changes because Thrash gave her some improvements to the costume. Speedy made some changes to his costume and then he added the trench coat.
Because
Firestar made some changes to kind of reflect the new mature her. Nova made changes after basically dying and being reborn. Rage made a couple of changes, and then Justice made changes too in his name and in his uniform. So, like, I think this might be the first one with all of them on there. So that's another reason to love it even more. So
you might be right with that. But yeah, as soon as I pulled this one out, I was just like, this is a beautiful cover. I was sold the moment I pulled it out of the line of comics.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it alone was a reason like, that's cool. And then sure enough, today, Matt, was the day that I opened your mail package. And as soon as I looked at it and put out, oh, you have gotta be kidding me. This is awesome. Like, I promise y'all, like out there, like watching live, and if you listen to this about 6 months from now when it comes out, we didn't plan it. It's just one of those awesome things that life happened to provide. Matt, do you want to? Oh, go ahead, man.
Oh, I was gonna say, I was in a random comic shop. It was in a half price bin for like $3 because I didn't think I had it. I went to track it and it was there, and I'm like, well, Delvin may need it. I'll check with Delvin.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Now, would you help me out and read the credits for the issue?
I will certainly do that, man. So we are talking about New Warriors issue number 47. Its on sale date was March 22nd, 1994. Cover date, May 1994. The cover price was $1.50. I miss $1.50 comics.
And I think this was a price raise from last issue. Last issue was $1.25, so they just bumped it up by 25 cents.
And people probably yelled.
Oh, yeah.
So, the story is by Fabian Nicieza. The pencilers, this is where it gets a little shady for me. The pencilers, we have Derek Robertson, Vincent Evans, Kevin Kobasic, John Zopp. Inks are by Larry Malstadt, Mark Stegbauer, sorry, Timothy Dizon. Colors, Carlos Lopez. Letters, Chris Eliopoulos. Editor, Rob Tokar. Thanks to Mike's Amazing World for those credits.
Thank you for reading it, Matt. And yeah, looks like there was kind of a all hands on deck situation going on here, but they actually explained why a little bit. I may as well say it now. Basically, Derek was ramping up for issue 50, which was double size, and looks like Derek is taking care of it all. And they also mentioned that it was going to be Derek's last issue, so wanted to make it special. So even though I will hate to see Derek leave already, because it feels like he just got into the seat and got the seat warm, and now he has to leave.
He's just so good.
He is so good. I absolutely love how he found his footing on the book. Like, he started out okay. I remember him starting out shaky, and we didn't really. But then, like, once he really, really found his footing, he put out some spectacular art. And it wasn't 90s art to me. It was just great comic book art.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Here is the synopsis. The title of this book is Time and Time Again, Part 1, Like Flies in Amber. Sphinx is back. Male Sphinx and female Sphinx. And, well, that cannot be good for the New Warriors, right? Correct. We're going to talk about it now, some highs and lows and stuff. And, Matt, you are the guest. Feel free to talk about whatever you want, my friend.
So what really jumped out to me first was kind of on the first page. We start seeing these big computer monitors, and it's not just the New Warriors. We see members of the Fantastic Four, Captain America. It kind of made me wonder, like, wait a minute, how big is this story going to be? How much of the Marvel Universe are we going to involve?
Right. Yeah. I saw that too, and I was like, maybe, but like, he did focus then and eventually said, like, yeah, because you see like the Fantastic Four, you see a little Wolverine, Cap, and even a little Vision, I believe, there below Night Thrasher. I'm doing a little bit of guess who, because there's the green and red. I'm guessing that's Vision.
Oh, I think that's
or is that Rage?
Rage
is up top. Yeah, I think that's Vision. So yeah, and this is a good table setter to me, because basically, he's saying, I want to do my thing and be evil and Sphinx and bad guy. And then, but these freaking warriors, I already know that they are going to get in my way. So, there's that. And then we can go to page 2, and we're not going to go through every page, but I just wanted to, like, this drawing of Sphinx just kind of sitting there brooding is awesome. It's one of those where, like, you see this, and while you see that it's going to be a team effort with the pencils, you're like, man, I wish that Derek could have drawn this whole issue, because if he was dropping fire like that.
Yeah.
And to let the rest of the audience know, the thing that he was basically brooding about is, I used to be super powerful, but this lady Sphinx came along and she took my dang powers, man. Like, I don't like her. she makes me upset. Right. Well, no, she took all. She has all of them as of page 2. Yes.
Okay.
As of page 2, she has all of them. And he's like, I don't like this woman. I've got to come up with a reason to get them back. So let's see. Just comment. Jason Lady says, I saw some OG Derek in the old Justice League Europe just yesterday, and he came a long way between Justice League Europe to New Warriors. Good to hear. So what else you got, Matt?
So the other thing I kind of liked, because obviously we're setting the table because we just kind of finished the crossover with X-Force. So now we're like, let's get back to New Warriors. And we get like the little slice of life moments for the whole team.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. Like we're gonna go out and we're gonna have Benihana and people are gonna try sushi and we're gonna do this interesting little stuff.
Yep. Keep going.
The thing I liked about it, I love seeing into it, and it kind of breaks them off into the couples a little bit. But for me, that's where the art got a little shaky. And that's where I would have loved Derek to, and I don't want to say anything bad about it because I could not do any better. But I
couldn't either.
And it's just after seeing Derek on all of it, I'm like, what happened? Okay. And then when I see the list, I'm like, okay, time crunch. This is what's going on. I get it. More power to
Same. And the only thing that we mentioned or forgot to mention with the Sphinx's brooding is that we got an appearance again from Sage, which you may or may not remember from that original storyline. Of course, I'm going to blank on it, but thankfully the editors mentioned it. Hold on, wait a second. Carry the one. Do I have to take off my glasses to see this? Hold on. Crap. What was the storyline called? It was in New Warriors 11 through 13, and it was.
I don't remember what it was called, but
it's gonna come to me, and I guarantee you the comment section is gonna pull us out. But like, they never revealed who Sage was, and so Sage came back, and it looks like, and I don't think this is possible, but it looks like Sphinx wiped them out.
Yeah, he's
like,
bye.
Right. Like, I don't want to hear what you had to say anyway. And by the way, as Sphinx was brooding, thank you, Jason Lady, Forever Yesterday was the name of the storyline. The reason why Sphinx was brooding, about the power, Sage came along and said, is it about power or is it about love? Oh. And then Sphinx was like, blank that, boom, and thinks that he takes out Sage. And it's like, so then we get to the Benihana scene, which I loved. I love that scene because like it was the first time in a while that the team got to unwind. And it was very funny seeing Mickey Turbo like basically getting needled by the rest of the team. Like, haha, you're on a date with Robbie. And he's like, I'm not.
it took me a minute because like I was reading and I was like, I was pretty sure that was Turbo. And then I was like, I kept reading to see if they drop a hint. I'm like, no, okay, fine. I got to go look this up and make sure that that's Turbo. That was who it was.
Mm-hmm. Mickey Musashi, Turbo. Well, there is the other guy too, whose name isn't important.
The other Turbo.
I feel so bad. Turbo 2, Electric Boogaloo. Absolutely.
Yes.
So I appreciated the slice of life too, because I mean, after all the things that they have gone through, like it was nice for them to just have a chill moment. By the way, Courtney Holland came onto the show. Welcome, Courtney. Called us the Wonder Twins, Matt. By the way, I don't know what we would do form of. I don't know what we would do form of, shape of, but we can keep that in mind for later. So yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to mention about that scene?
About that scene, not really. I did love how though that Namorita was like, "Well, you can crash at my place if you get tired of living at Angelica's," and trying to give Justice a nice little out so he's not living under Angelica's father's roof, because that's awkward.
Oh yeah. I would imagine that'd be an awkward situation, considering that they're girlfriend and boyfriend. Like, I can tell you this much: like, if I had like some situation as a teenager and I had some girlfriend that was incarcerated and had to come back, it's like, mom, dad, come back. No,
right.
Or like she's absolutely sleeping in separate beds and I'm chaining your door shut every night. Aw.
But then it's like, it's Justice. I'll just telekinesis the door open. You don't like it? So
if you don't like it, I'll punch you through a few walls.
You're like, okay, no, you're fine. You can stay here. It's cool. No problem.
Oh man. Let's see. We got some good conversation going on. Let's see. I'll pick up Scott's comment. It says, I vaguely remember, not sure if it was announced in the letters page or something similar, them talking about having all the guest artists in this story as a means of them letting them audition for the full-time gig when Derek left. I remember who took over for Derek, and I do. It was Richard Pace was the guy's name. Like, great covers, not a fan of the art. Like, again, not trying to be overly critical there. I just personally wasn't a fan of the art. But that's 4 months from now or so. So we're good.
So
yeah, that's May's problems. We can worry about that then. Let's move on. There's a little tryst going on there where we find out that Silhouette's got a thing for somebody.
Yeah, I had to look up because I couldn't remember Bandit. I don't remember when the last time he popped up in New Warriors was, so I had to look up, and that's Dwayne's illegitimate brother? I was like,
yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We got some issues here.
And I want to read something because I'm like, man, you kind of want a girl with this kind of energy, but like, it's like, but whew, because he was like, are you sure this is the right thing to do? And she said, shouldn't I be asking you that question? I don't care if it's right or wrong. It is what I want, Bandit. You're what I want.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then. And Jason, lady, is here to remind us that Bandit was introduced in the Night Thrasher series. So, yep. That was pretty big reveal there, kind of like, because it seemed like, even though they said that they were not really in a relationship, because if anything, they weren't in a relationship, and Night Thrasher gave Syl the new costume kind of as a peace offering, saying, hey, yeah, we aren't together anymore, but we still very much are dear friends. So
yeah, he's got to look out for each other. So it kind of, I'm intrigued about what might the fallout of that be. So
yeah, me too, and I don't remember it. So
yeah, I would say I've got a little more to say about Seal, but that'll be way later in this. So
okay,
because I'm curious now. So the other thing that I liked was, even though we know this is part 1 of 8, we got just enough of the story to make me want to go, well, what's coming next? Like,
for
I
sure.
didn't get all my answers, and I kind of appreciate that, because when I see part 1 of 8, I'm like, man, 8 that's a lot. But I think I'm okay with that. I think I trust Fabian to tell me a story over 8 books and keep it coherent.
And if you ask me, like, I remember Jared and I ended the last storyline, the crossover, Child's Play, the crossover between the Warriors and X-Force, and the whole thing, and who knows what happened behind the scenes, but the whole thing just seemed rushed.
Yeah.
It just something, and I was kind of surprised by that, seeing as how Fabian was in charge or was writing both books at the time. Something about it just came across rushed, and even at the end of the mini series of 4-on-4, nothing really happened. The main players, you had 2 pretty powerful teams, one in X-Force, one in New Warriors, and none of them saved the day. It took like a random person that went along for the ride that wound up saving everyone, and both of us are kind of like, so
for our heroes, yeah,
right. So this one though, this one feels like it has a little bit more promise, and what I mean by that is like the elements that we have so far. You've got an angry Sphinx, and he's angry male Sphinx. He's mad at the female Sphinx for taking his powers, and 2, the New Warriors for being just overall nuisances. And he's like, since I'm well aware of time, then I know good and well that the Warriors are going to have a problem, are going to be a problem for me. So I need to find a way to eliminate them before they're a problem.
So the other part I really liked is, I don't want to talk about what happens at the very end of the book till we get there, but I like that Thrasher and Hindsight Lad are looking at potential new members. Well, at least Thrasher is. Hindsight Lad's like, you don't need those people. But I like that it kind of sets up that, are we going to see the team grow? Are we going to see some changes? People maybe move away from the team, or just an even larger team?
Yeah. I remember hearing that the plan was by the end of issue 50 to split the Warriors off into 2 different books. They were going to have 2 different teams of new Warriors, but they felt that sales were flagging on the book, so they decided that they weren't going to do it. And then I think I looked it up, and like sales were flagging meant like it was selling like 300,000 books a month. And you hear that now, and it's just like,
90s. Yes.
What? Get the heck out of here. Are you kidding me?
If that was going, we would then have the Absolute New Warriors, Amazing New Warriors, Spectacular New Warriors, The Adventures of the New Warriors.
Right, like, man, like, could you imagine if they put out any book now, like 300,000, like issue 1 would go into like its freaking 15th reprint. Right. Oh my good, like,
yeah.
So
should we rename the company after this book now? You know?
Yep, but let's see. For the sake of the audience, you had looks like Power Pack. Power Pack was on one of the screens. Dark Hawk was on one of the screens. Dark Hawk. And you had Cloak and Dagger. And then you had Turbo. And male Turbo was crossed out. But Lady Turbo was not. Like, I don't know if you guys can see it well enough on the screen, but it was absolutely hilarious to see that. And I also thought it was hilarious. It was good interplay between Thrasher and Hindsight Lad, to where you can tell that Dwayne is like, I tolerate you. Barely.
In the past, like anytime Hindsight Lad has shown up, I've just been like, go away. But I'm like, all right, he may actually have some points this time. So
kind of. Like, kind of. Like, I mean, I just thought of it's funny that like the original pain in the butt to the Warriors, Speedball, is the one who inadvertently brought Hindsight Lad in, who is a bigger pain in the butt than Speedball is.
That may be why he brought him in.
Let's see. A few comments. Let's see. Scott O'Neill says there's some talk about Richard Pace. I'm not going to mention all of it, but Scott mentions that he loves Richard Pace's work and has sketches of Speedball and Silhouette by Pace. I will leave it at that. And Auburn Elvis asks, is that Power Pack on the screen? Where's Rick or Jeff? That's funny. And let's see. We already talked about, but I'll bring it up. Jason Lady mentioned about talking about a second team. And then he mentioned as well that expansion teams were all the rage back then. Fantastic Force, Justice League Task Force. So they're just trying to branch out. And just to add to Scott's comments, just as I loved Richard Pace's work on Psionics in particular. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but I'll leave the comment up for anyone else to read if they'd like to, just keeping things relatively positive. And Eric Porter mentions that Sphinx was trying to regain his powers in the New Warriors Annual 2, which crossed over with the Spider-Man annuals. I believe Jared and I talked about that at one point. I can't remember whenever Warriors 2 came out. I think we discussed it very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other piece that really jumped out to me, I did get a kick out of Thrash running into the single mom.
Rage,
yes. I did get a kick out of that because she's like, take that Buick off your face.
Man.
That's a little awkward. Yeah.
Rage is how old? Like in
14, 15.
14,
Yeah.
right? And they doing the math. What was her name? Chandra? Let me double check. I do not want to miss her name up. The daughter's name was Shanice. Let's see. The daughter's name was Shanice, and he's 14, by the way. They happened to mention that as he was brooding before the scene even started.
Right.
It said, telling Robbie I had to work was kind of lame. What 14-year-old can use that as an excuse? And guess what? They even highlighted 14-year-old, old. So she's 14, and
so she's 21.
Dahlia. Her name is Dahlia. Dahlia is 21. Yeah.
More questionable there.
Yeah. So the obvious story that's coming up, I can't remember. I can't remember how it ends, but Rage Elvin is 14 and Dahlia is 21. But Dahlia doesn't know how old Rage is. Rage looks like an actual grown man. And he actually does look like a freaking grown man because, he's like 3 times my freaking size, and he can freaking grab a baby and huddle down and have a taxi hit him and crumple, and the baby is laughing about it. So, right. He is a big human. He just happens to be a big young human. So it's the start of a storyline that Fabian never strayed away from these type of storylines. That was the point of the New Warriors, to talk about controversy, but it's this is the start of it, and it's yeah. I see that now as 21-year-old woman, 14-year-old boy, and I'm like,
yeah. And that was kind of his reaction too. So is he kind of like, I shouldn't be doing this. This is not right. But he's 14. He doesn't know what to say.
My instinct on it was he accepted her invite because, in my opinion, anytime that his grandma was mentioned, what was she doing with Rage? She was feeding him. He was in the kitchen and he was chowing down, eating some food, and she's like, you're eating me out of house and home. It's I'm sorry, Grandma. I'm been mutified. I'm hungry. And so, sure enough, what did she do? What did Dahlia do? Invite him in to eat. That boy ain't gonna turn down no meals. No. He's been walking around for 2 hours. He was and he's 14. He was hungry. I couldn't get enough food in my mouth at 14. But when he was walking out right before he got zapped away, she was kind of like, "You're gonna call me, right?" And he was like, "No, I don't know." So he didn't. He kind of seemed weirded out about things, especially because she was kind of like, I don't know, maybe you could be my daughter's stepdaddy.
Yeah, maybe he needs a daddy. It's like, whoa, lady, slow down.
And so I like that we're talking about it, even in this roundabout way. I can't blame her because he came across as a protector. He protected her 4-year-old daughter, especially when the man, as it were, in the baby's daddy, just basically had her and ditched.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, this superhero, literal superhero, comes and saves the day. So, man, all right, now I've talked myself into at least saying that this was a pretty well thought out storyline in the lines that framed it. Rage Elvin at this point is a very established character. He was walking the streets freaking brooding, and then he runs into this situation that's just a really complex situation, but it was a pretty organic situation too. So
yeah,
I'll give it a thumbs up on that for the story.
I don't remember where the story goes, but it was enough to make me go, I do want to know what happens out of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because how's she going to react when she finds out he's a kid?
Yeah, I don't think she took well to it from what I remember, but we got a while to go on it. And I remember Speedball gave him some not good advice. I was like
this is my
at the
shot.
time, right. At the time I was probably like, I don't know what I was thinking back at the time. Like, but I know what me now is thinking. Like, ixnay on the atuatory say. So, like, right. So, yeah. So we got through that part, and I think only thing that leaves is, well, two things. One thing leads to the other. The first thing is that Lady Sphinx sort of gets a letter, from her boo, and it's like, hey, come meet me in this sketchy place. And her assistant was like, you sure you want to do this?
Right.
In famous last words, right? She was like, I can recreate this reality if I wanted to. I'm all powerful. What's gonna stop me? And as soon as she steps through the door, zap.
Yeah. I love the assistant's like, she's like, I shouldn't be scared. He's like, you should be terrified, or something like that. And I'm like, yes, you should.
Yeah, oh boy, her assistant was trying to warn her, was trying to tell her, like, I don't think this is a thing that you shouldn't even have come here. It's like, if he really wanted to meet you, like, especially, like, why would he meet you at I don't know, Benihana's or something, right? Why wouldn't he meet you? You're a freaking, like, rich executive, basically. Why wouldn't he meet you at, like, your office? Why wouldn't he meet you at a 5-star hotel somewhere? He wants to meet you at this seedy place? They should have sent off freaking, Sphinx signals. But instead, she was blinded by love because she loves this dude. She loves him. She loves him. He does not love her.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those things, like, I almost wonder if she thought, no. I have all this power. He loves me because of that. Or he loves me in spite of that. No, he wants his power back, lady.
He wants his power back. And props to Fabian, because, I mean, the sage came along and said, hey, stupid, like, she loves you, dude. And he was like, she loves my power. And so, like, sure enough, like, Lady Sphinx is like, yeah. Male Sphinx is like, yeah. I am all about the power. And so, sure enough, as a result, he steals half of her power, which is immense.
That's where the half came in. Okay.
That's where it came in. Like, she, and it was even mentioned, he drained her of half of her powers. Okay.
So, I wonder if he's going to regret taking just half.
I assume that that was as much as he could take. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like maybe he wanted to take all of it, but by the time that she could stop him from taking all of it, she wound up realizing that half was gone, and now in the hands of the male Sphinx.
Well, I don't know if she was even trying to stop him. Maybe it just looks like, when we look at that splash page, not really splash page, but this one, it just looks like he's, like, overpowered with it. Like, maybe that's all he can handle. Is that half of it? Maybe there's more there than he anticipated.
Maybe. And, maybe he hadn't had the power in a while, and maybe taking on all of the power at once would have been too much for him to handle, even though he held it all at one point.
Yeah.
The chat, by the way, is talking about the food that they used to eat back in the day, and how their metabolism used to be king. I'm gonna let them go ahead and
back in the 90s metabolism days.
Oh yes, back in the 90s metabolism. Man, I tell you, if I could combine my metabolism then with what I know now and how I work out now, oh man. Yeah, there's a reason that
A
we
lot of
humans
trouble.
can't go back in time. Oh, Matt, you
Yeah.
have no idea. Anyway,
Yes.
the last thing that happened is that the Sphinx, with his newly found powers, sets out to do exactly the thing that he said. I am taking the new warriors out
Mhm.
of the picture. And all of a sudden, all 8 of the new warriors that we know of are
Okay.
poof, they're gone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. That's it.
Yeah.
I guess that's the end of the freaking series. I stopped at
We
47.
didn't.
The last 28 of the series, just blank pages.
Well, at that point, I want to know, why is Derek not working on this one since he doesn't need to draw issue 50? If we're
Good
stopping it.
question. Right?
I
Like if
know.
we're like,
I know.
where did they go? The IDK, man. IDK.
I
I
guess we got to
don't
read the
know.
next issues.
I guess so. I guess so. I mean, if we're stuck reading the next issues, I guess we're stuck reading it. And
I'll
so,
do it.
but I'll tell you what, like it's a interesting question as to where the Warriors wound up. So I'll
Yes.
be I'll be interested in seeing what happens. And I tell the listeners, like, even though I haven't talked with Jared about this, and like I know how the conversation would go. I'd say, Jared, what do you want to do as far as reading other books? And he's going to leave the call to me since this is my show. And what I'll probably do is look at 2 and 3 because I know that I have those parts of the Time and Time Again storyline, the Night Thrasher issue and the Nova issue. And then part 4 is part 4 of 8 of Time and Time Again will be New Warriors 48. So I will probably just very briefly mention what went on in the Nova issue and the Night Thrasher issue, and we'll just leave it here to talk about New Warriors. Hopefully that is okay with everybody.
Yeah, that was kind of like my last, like, I don't want to call it bad, but bad part. I worry about it being spread over 3 books. I look forward to an 8-part story, but I know how stories were done in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not going to be able to read necessarily 48 without knowing what happened in Nova and Night Thrasher, because I don't recall them letting a lot of standalone tie-ins go along back then.
So I don't know is the answer. I almost, as a challenge now, want to just read the next issue of New Warriors and see whether or not I needed to read 2 and 3 of the storyline, because what books usually do, like they come up with the assumption that every book is someone's first, just like we do
Yes.
podcast land, right?
Yes.
That's why we have the boilerplate. Welcome to the show. This is what the show is about.
Mm-hmm.
So the same thing happens with comic books, like welcome to this comic book. This is what the comic book was about. And so I would think that they would at least fill you in on what's going on with the other books that were not the book that you're reading, particularly if you couldn't afford it. But like if every book was $1.50, then like you're out of what? Quick math, 8, 40, $12. So like it's right now, if they did it across 3 books in 8 issues, you'd be out of about $3,248.73.
Yep.
Oh man. So go ahead.
But I worry because then we look back at the Child's Play crossover, it felt like we really needed more of what was going on in those X-Force issues to get the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
At least from what I recall about it. So
okay. Remind me then, throw me a reminder, and I will give my opinion on whether or not reading the Nova and Night Thrasher issue was needed.
Okay.
I'll be honest about it. Like, and I'm sure it's not like if Derek or Fabian or any of the creative team happen to see this and they're like, he raged on my book that was 31 years ago, the bastard. Yeah. I seriously doubt that. If they ever even listen to it at all. So I'm going to read a couple comments and we can go on to Ultimate Warrior. By the way, comment section, if you like to get your Ultimate Warrior and Ultimate Warrior in, now would be the time to do so. Jason Lady says, back in the day, I didn't read the Nova and Thrash parts of the story and kept up with it well enough. So there's Jason. And let's see. Scott says 49, probably meant 48, 49. And the Thrash Nova chapters were pretty episodic. The string holding the whole story together was all shown in the New Warriors issues. Okay. So the teaser there, Matt, seems to be like, and to me, like, that's the difference, I guess, between I don't know, to come up with an analogy, like you're wearing like a nice shirt and then like you got a nice shirt and a tie on. Like, did you need the tie? Maybe. Like if you wanted to look completely dapper, but maybe like the shirt was probably good enough to go into most places. So that'd be my very quick assumption. Yeah. All right. Ultimate Warrior time. Who in New Warriors 47 to you was the Ultimate Warrior, Matt?
Oh, I almost hate to say this. To me, you're going to kick me off the show. I'm going to be gone after Ultimate Warrior. I honestly think for me, Hindsight Lad was the Ultimate Warrior in this episode because he finally had some good points, and he didn't mind like maybe standing up to Thrasher a little bit, but he made some good points about if you split the team, you're going to have to train some of these new people in your ways potentially, and that's going to potentially weaken both teams. So it was some good insight from him. And in general, I didn't see a lot of Warrior from a lot of the other Warriors. So that's kind of why I have to go with him with this issue.
I got you. Okay. Whew. I'm going to go with the Sphinx, the male Sphinx. Okay. Like I like a proactive villain. I like a proactive hero for that matter. But like he was like, I know these dudes and girls, they're a problem. They are a pain in my backside. And I know they're going to be. And even if they don't know it yet, I know they're going to be. So I am going to get my powers and I am taking them off the board. Bye-bye. I like that. It's
I will not gonna lie.
Yeah, I like world domination, and so like I want to do that, and so if these people are in my way, gone. Bye-bye.
That's like Starscream level plans. Get rid of this guy, get rid of this guy, get rid of this guy. Hey, look, I'm running the show now. Yeah.
Great machinations. Eric Porter, being Mr. Spoiler Pants over there, says the crossovers are basically solo stories about each character lost in time. That is true. Because I remember the Night Thrasher cover. It was controversial.
Okay. Yeah.
And Scott says, it sort of depends on your favorite characters. The Thrash chapters had Thrash and Rage. The Nova chapters had Nova and I think Nita. The New Warriors chapters had the main story and Speedball. Firestar, Silhouette, and Justice. I don't really remember where their chapter showed up. Don't worry. I got you next month, y'all. And comment section says Ultimate Warrior, Jason Lady. Vance for getting his life back on track. Ultimate Warrior, Rage. What is he getting into? Shenanigans, Jason. Shenanigans. And Scott says Warrior is Lady Sphinx's assistant. Bro has no backstory and like 2 pages of existence, but he read the whole thing perfectly. If she listened to him, this 8-issue arc would have been over in 1. I cannot doubt that. You know what? Yeah. I agree with that so much that I'm going to get his name. Like, because I thought he had a cool name.
Ochino or something like that.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna nope. This is when he's winking people out of existence.
Hosni.
Oh my goodness. What is it?
Hosni. Hosni.
Hosni. Yes. Hosni. I like that name. I think that's a cool name.
It's unique.
Yeah, it's unique. I've never met a Hosni in real life. I just last week in training jujitsu, a guy came through and I was like, "Hey, what's your name?" He says his name was Fidel. I never met a Fidel in person.
Nice.
So, go figure. I like cool names like that. Let's see. Scott says worrier. He's worried for Dahlia. Poor woman is just shopping for a stepdad for a girl and has no idea she's speeding towards a jail cell. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we got this story has a few legs, as it were, so we'll let it play out. Matt, who are you worried about in the book? We haven't gotten to our part yet.
The worrier for me is basically the whole team. Where did they go? They just got poofed, and we don't know what happened. But that ties me back to the one thing I mentioned. One last thing I wanted to say about Silhouette. I think she could have been the only one that got away. If she sees this beam coming, could she have maybe like Shadows of the Couch?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm wondering with her.
But the thing that makes me like I'm going to assume she's gotten. She got gotten.
Oh yeah. I would think so.
But because Fabian, this wasn't his first time at the rodeo by any means. The thing that I liked was that a couple of the warriors were with people.
Yes.
You had Silhouette, who was with Bandit.
Yep.
And you had Night Thrasher, who was with Hindsight Lad. And do you think that they're going to just let it lie that like these people just disappeared?
Speedball was with Mickey.
Yep. Speedball was with Mickey.
So we have people who maybe we see a temporary New Warriors team going after them in the next few issues. Maybe. So who's
maybe? I agree with you. I think it's the original core New Warriors team. I don't know where they are. Like they got, as far as I know, they have been completely wiped off the map, and that doesn't seem to be good. So I don't know. Like we're gonna see what happens to them coming up, and so I'm looking forward to it. I don't remember exactly what happens to them, and I don't remember exactly what gets them back. So I look forward to finding that out and sharing it with everybody. But for now, we're about at the time limit that I want to be at for this podcast. Let's rate the thing. Matt, what would you rate the first installment of Time and Time Again, New Warriors 47?
Going in and reading it as I started going through and seeing the changes in the art and everything, that automatically kind of pulls it down a little bit for me. But the story brought it back. It pulled it back in, and I'm intrigued to see where this goes. So I think I would give this one, I was going to initially say a 7, but after our discussion and thinking more about where all the storylines are going, I think I'm at an 8 for this.
I'm in agreement with you again. I give it an 8 as well. And man, if Derek drew that whole book, I'm flirting with a 10. I'm like looking at the 10 over in the corner, like, texting like, "Hey, big head," if Derek drew that whole book, and like, I understand the reasons why they were valid reasons. The man was having to draw a 48-page book coming up. He needed a little bit of break time. Completely respect and understand that. Yeah. But the story itself was so intriguing. Like to where like they introduce just like small little parts of it to where like it was one of those where you just at the end of it you kind of just lean in because you had the Sphinx and he was just like, "Time's up," and it's like, ooh.
Because you look back at it and you're just like, okay, what's going on? And then if you reflect back, you're like, well, wait a minute, Nova Namorito. We're talking about stuff. Is Justice going to go there? What's happening to that? What about Speedball? What about new potential team? What? Okay, give me the next issue.
All this stuff was introduced in this. Like, how much of this is going to get solved in 8 parts? I don't know. I don't know. It's intriguing. Jason Lady says 8. Love the downtime at the dinner scenes. and the banter. I don't think the Sphinxes are super compelling, to be honest. Jason, bud, I need your address. I'm just gonna come. I will spend the money. I will fly to your place and just give you like just a big comforting hug. I need you to find you're happy.
It's
we
not
love you, Jason.
Obviously.
we love you, Jason. Just ribbon, man. I will go to the goodbyes. If anyone else has any ratings for the book, I will read those before I end the show. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we have to bring the show to an end. Come back and join us where we discuss New Warriors 48, where the New Warriors are in part 4 of Time and Time Again. And I'm sure they're somewhere in time because, Sphinxes. So if you'd like to hear more from us, Longbox Crusade is in a lot of places. Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. If you look for Longbox Crusade, you will find us. Patreon, you could become a member of the Crusaders Club at $1 a month. And if you're super snazzy, like a Matt Poisso, for instance, maybe you can appear on a podcast with us. It's happened more than once, many times more than once. We're 50 members strong right now, and would love to get our 51st anytime soon. It's $1, y'all. I know somebody got $1 out there. I ain't counting your wallets or anything, but if you got $1, come join us, because we throw some content out on the Crusaders Club that you would not get just like listening to the podcast. The podcasts alone are great, if I do say so myself. But like Jared does I seen it, to where like he's talked about different media that he reviewed. I just came out with something called I Heard It, where if you want to request like a song for me to listen to, then I'll give like a few minute review on that. I've done a few of those. So come along with us. We love to have you. You also get to pick show content for our Amazing Spider-Man Chronicles, the second issue that's featured along with that show. So you get input into the podcast, you get a chance to be on podcast, and you get extra content. YouTube as well. You're listening to it on here. Please subscribe. Both recorded and live content there. And you can email us at contact@longboxcrusade.com. I just realized I didn't put any of the banners at the bottom of the show. So my apologies to those banner lovers. There's our number going across right now. You can leave us a voice message as well. 707-532-5269. That is 707-532-LBOX.
Pick up the phone.
Thank you, Matt. Pick up the phone. Do it. I love to read a message. I don't think we had a come out to play message yet. So like if you want to leave one, like please, we will play it. Right, we will play it on the show. Absolutely, because we love hearing back from you. Speaking of hearing back, Scott O'Neill says the story was a 9. This story was a love story to the Warriors up to now. All sorts of callback and character development. They even mentioned that at the beginning of the show. They're like, or the beginning of the episode. My goodness, I'll get it right third time. The beginning of the issue, because they were saying, they're like, we had this planned out all the way back in issue like 9. It's like, that's some good plotting. I remember like one of the issues early on, Fabian said something about something. I have the book plotted out like through issue 50. He said that even back then, and it's like, sure enough, we are seeing the culmination of that. So there is that. And let's see. Now it's Matt's turn. Matt, tell us where you can be found on social media if you wish to be found, sir.
So I am mainly just hanging out on Blue Sky now. So you can look me up at Serpy Matt. And what you'll mainly find there is some comics talk right now. I've given myself New Year's resolution of doing a new toy pick every day. So I'm up to 14 days in the new year, 14 new toy picks. Some are over the top, some are fun, some are simple. It's just doing something to share with everyone and put a smile on my face. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Come look me up.
And just like we need to bring more people together, we need to do more things to bring a smile to people's faces. So I think that's an awesome thing, Matt. One more comment from Scott before we go. He was saying in the letters page in the 20s, he said something about this exact story. My jaw hit the floor on a reread when I spotted that. That's cool. I would have to go back and look at that. If you happen to know what that is, Matt, you happen to know what that is, Scott, send me a, I think, yeah, we're friends on Blue Sky. Find me on Blue Sky and let me know where it is. I just want to know for the heck of it. You can find me on Instagram or Threads at Delvin Ray. You can find me on Threads at DEERAY1977. See y'all next time. And remember, be a hero to someone, even if it's just to yourself. And until next month, y'all, New Warriors, come out to play. Jared would love that you have Taco Bell bottles, by the way.
Bro, that's the only taco sauce to get in this house.
He would love it. He would love it. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great night. See you later.
Take care, everybody.